Good morning. Welcome to Morning Java, brought to you as always by our friends at the Get Go Cafe and Market, where they are currently bringing orders right out to your car. You just roll down the window, order it on your app. I'm joined by Ramon Foster in Tennessee, and here I thought I would show him up with this big, fancy, dramatic backdrop that I have here, and then look at all this nature in Tennessee that he's got back there. What are you like mowing the lawn or something?
No, I'm not. I got a few things going on in the house, so I'm actually outside right now.
Oh, you got kicked out.
I did get kicked out. I got kicked out, and it's mild in Tennessee right now, weather-wise, so I can actually enjoy this and do this. So yeah, this is perfect. All because of you, I'm guessing, probably.
There you go. Well, let's talk a little bit about being outside and being active and exercising.
Yeah.
It's something that I think a lot of people, when they talk about athletes leaving the game that they love, leaving what it is that they do, almost all of the focus is on mental. Oh, I'll miss this and I'll miss that. What about physically, Ramon? You've spent your whole life conditioning yourself to be a certain way. Is there an urgency to continue doing that? Do you lose weight? Do you gain weight? Do you go like James Harrison and say, I still have to be able to lift Mack trucks? I mean, what do you do?
I think that the biggest thing is mentally, for a lot of different reasons. I hadn't gotten to that point to where guys always say, you're going to miss it. You're going to say, I could have, I should have, I wish I had played more and all that type of stuff. I hadn't actually gotten that feeling simply because I feel like I maximized a lot of my career. The physical part of it is huge. A lot of guys get done and they're done. They're done with life. They're done with the aspects of training their body, and that's one of the things I actually just texted my trainer last night. It's crazy you asked this. I was like, send me a program to where I can lift. My neighbor has equipment in his garage since, a lot of the gyms aren't open, but I got to the point where I'm not going to be trying to lift a house, but I got to be able to maintain. And my wife's telling me that my arms shrunk a little bit. I'm like,
oh no.
What are you, so I got it. So I think it's more, we know it, but our family knows it too. They expect a certain thing, not in a sense where you said we got to be James Harrison type, or I'm moving over to WWE, but I don't want to be done and also be done with myself, meaning life. And that's losing weight. That's the mental part of staying sharp. It's funny, I have a group chat with some of my college buddies, and they were like, playing video games help stimulate and keep you in tune. So I've been playing video games. I was in like 3 Madden leagues, and I'm gonna be honest, that's too much. There's one thing I'm not gonna do is just waste my time on a video game all day, okay? But it's little stuff like that you have to stay in tune, mentally sharp and physically too, because the moment you start lifting is probably when you're gonna start feeling all those aches, those pains. You got to think I've been doing this since the 7th grade, and what is that, 1997?
It's a lot, yeah.
1997. So this has been a yearly thing for me, but it's on my agenda to always stay active though.
Now, when you see, and we've seen in the past, Alan Faneca showed up. I know we're talking about offensive linemen here in particular. I don't know that people appreciate the amount of work that offensive linemen take putting weight on.
Yeah.
It's an unusual position in sports for that reason alone. We've now seen it with Marshall Yanda, the great offensive tackle of the Baltimore Ravens.
Staley.
Yeah.
Joe Staley's another one who just retired a month ago, I think.
And looks like this. Yeah.
yeah. But in that, if you're smart, you do that. Now, I've seen some guys that function like it's not. I think Walter Jones, one of those guys, is just going to be a big guy. It's just their body type. I've seen the Willie Colognes, and Max is still a big guy who's actively still losing weight and stuff like that. Some it's a challenge for more than others, and you just got to stay on top of it because you grow accustomed to eating a certain way, whether you're keeping it on or whether that's just how you eat in general. And you got to break those habits. And breaking those habits comes to what my article was this week is staying sharp, mental. It's all mental and doing those things. And I always say a diet is a lifestyle change. It's not a, hey, you do this, you do that. I think it's activity, it's eating, it's what you drink, sleep, all of that is, as you can tell, it's some stuff I've already thought about.
I can tell. Ramon, in this day and age, everything in sports is quantified.
Yeah,
Everything.
yeah.
I mean, it started with baseball, and the obsession there with every little stat to the point that
Running
RBIs are
ball,
now
right?
laughed. Yeah, yeah. Every RBIs are laughed out of the conversation. Really, RBIs? Get out of here. What's his OPS plus and everything else? They've come to football. We've seen the NFL add next gen stats right onto its official website. It's not something
Yeah.
that you have to go digging for. If you had to come up with an offensive line statistic, what would it be? I mean, at some point or other, somebody's going to do this.
Yes.
It doesn't exist yet.
It doesn't. There's no real way to calculate it. I think one, durability and availability. Two, um, sacks probably is going to be one of the main ones.
How do you do it, though?
You,
How do you do it?
it goes into, I guess, if you want to jump into that, you have to jump into what is their offense. You can't just say, I think everybody would agree, our offense is different from San Francisco. Our offense is different from Baltimore. Are they moving the pocket? Are they drop back guys? Because I could play in our offense, Cincinnati's, Cleveland, but playing in San Francisco, Baltimore, probably not even New Orleans as much because they move the pocket because of their quarterbacks and stuff like that. So it goes into a lot of different run efficiency. And then the thing is too, what screws us is they think a good block is pancaking somebody. Pancakes in the NFL are irrelevant. I'll be completely honest with you. You might get one. I'll say you get 5 every 4 games, maybe, of just pure pancakes. I think if
just
you
knocking somebody over, yeah.
just finishing somebody, it's in that fashion because you got to think these guys are pros too. So I think efficiency of being able to sustain your block to where the runner gets past you, or let's say if you do move your guy, you might move your guy 1 or 2 yards at the most, 1 or 2 yards at the most, and because of that, that's a block in an NFL. And guys don't understand that or really take heed to that. They think you're supposed to be some Mauler road grader. No, that happens on combination blocks, and you catch a guy who's in a bad position. It's really hard to hone in on say, hey, this and that is the reason why. Because a guy can collect a sack visually from the people on the TV, but it could be because he's covering for somebody else. And we'll never know that. And the creed is you can't throw your brother under the bus either. So if you took that public heat,
yeah,
you got to
it's over.
Yes,
it's over.
It's over. You can go a lot of different ways. Combination blocks, sustaining your block, contact at the line of scrimmage, sacks because everybody's going to look into it, and durability and consistency.
But it still involves, in this case, a human looking and evaluating. It's just it's a different world. And as you say, we talked on a recent job about Pro Football Focus, and those are amateurs for the most part doing grading. Based on schemes and plays that they don't know or understand what those plays were intended to do.
Yes.
And as such, it's like the only way you could get this and have it accurate, and you know what I'm going to say here, is to have the coaches do it. Now, the coaches have better things to do with their time, but the coaches, share this with us because you know this. The coaches actually have their own data, don't they?
They do. They
can't share it. They're not going to put it out to the public. They sure as hell aren't going to trade with the Ravens and Bengals and Browns, but they have the information.
Yes, what we get graded on, period. Especially with Coach Munch. We didn't have. I'll just go with Munch's references. The end of the year meeting or either mid-season meeting we have. If the bye week is like week 8 or 9, then we'll get an evaluation at that time. You always get one at the end of the season. Ours was okay. He would tell you, well, you had 3 sacks on the season. MEs, mental errors. That was the biggest.
Hmm.
How many mental errors did you get? The plus or minus of blocking a guy, pushing him off the line of scrimmage wasn't a huge thing. Did you get your assignment? Okay, you got it. Did the guy win? Well, he's gonna win some. It's just unless it's just like a guy beats you across the face really fast.
But
Now,
were you doing the right thing? Were you
yes,
doing the right thing? Okay.
exactly. So this can happen too. Let's say if I have a scoop block, a front is 24 pike going to the right, or 24 zone going to the right. If I am going right, and let's say there's a shade on the center, let's say for whatever reason my center leaves really fast and not give me any help, that looked like it could be me, but in the meeting it could also belong to the center. But on film, guy goes to the backside A gap,
Yeah, you're exposed.
and I'm chasing the guy.
Yeah.
That falls on me. So it's so many intricate things. So that could be a half a negative for both of us.
And he
But
called them MEs. That's great. Like it was in
ME,
like a little column. See,
yes,
it's almost like you'd have to take 32 offensive line coaches
yep.
and come up with a uniform. This is impossible. We're in dreamland here. This will never happen. You could take maybe 32 assistant offensive line coaches,
Quality control coaches.
the ones that do the actual work, as the main assistants will tell you. Those are the guys that could put together something like this, but it's never going to happen. You will never see when you go through the Steelers media guide,
Yeah.
and you get through Marquise Pouncey's career, and he's being inducted into Canton and everything, and you look down there, you're going to see games played.
Yes, that's it.
You're
And
going
you
to
know
see
what?
games played.
We would get in more trouble for a ME than a sack.
Wow.
Just so you know, a ME would cost you more, not cost you more, but it hurts more than a sack does.
Not Ben. It hurts Ben more.
It hurts Ben more, but yeah, because on that one mental error play,
Yeah.
could be the difference between a 60-yard run and a 6-yard play. And that right there is why it's so intricate and hard to grade us, because like I said, going front side and a backer hits, or D lineman hits the backside A gap, that looks like the guard. But he know and I know, he will say to me, I shouldn't have left you right there. So what's our stats?
Yeah.
And who wants to hear that? All they want to say is you caused the bad play.
Oh, I don't know. In fantasy football, I can imagine the fantasy football drafts that are drafting offensive linemen, just to get you get points for avoiding MEs, right? I'm telling you, it would happen. It would definitely happen.
Yeah, but it's been some plays during the game to where two guys have messed up. And simply because the D-line did something, it became a big play. And I've looked at Al, and Al's looked at me, and we've been like, we got away.
Yeah.
But Munch and Coach Surratt being in the meetings like, we can't allow this. It's probably going to show up again, and we got to correct it. And then it goes away and you don't hear about it again.
Wanted to bring up the Cincinnati Bengals with you, and not for the usual target practice. The funny thing about the Bengals is every time you think they're going to be some kind of disaster or whatever, they still end up being competitive, and they end up surprising you. And I've seen a couple of candid looks at Cincinnati that said, look, they still have, they have Joe Burrow coming in, rookie, whatever. He's gonna have his aches and pains and everything else here, but he's got AJ Green, he's got Tyler Boyd, he's got people to throw to.
Mm-hmm.
They still have those guys up front. And I know you know them better than most. Okay, when you're facing Geno Atkins, Carlos Dunlap, and these guys, are they really going to be a train wreck again? I don't mean to set the bar for them down there, but I don't know that they're going to be a disaster. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be a disaster too, but I face the reality of that they're probably going to go through some growing pains, and a lot of them, simply because they have a new coach, and the new coach can always bring the guys to camp earlier. He can also get extra practice time right before camp. And so you say that, and you mentioned that D-line. That D-line is, for the most part, older.
Yes.
Meaning, if you do too much to those guys and their head coach isn't smart enough to pull back on them, which in my opinion, that has to be one. They got to be one of the biggest groups on the team, and also they're one of the most seasoned and respected guys on the team. So
Yeah.
are you going to run them into the ground and have an opportunity to mess up their gelling and honestly probably have them disliking you as a head coach already? You got to teeter on that really bad. But then they got
And you're talking about, to be clear here, you're talking about Atkins, Dunlap, and those guys.
Atkins, Dunlap, yes, those guys right there for sure. But then I know they just got the Reader guy from Houston, who's the highest paid nose tackle. So he's an older guy. Do you bring him in and you make him practice every day, every rep? It's and I say that because the league is a long season, but it's also a short season. If you beat them up super bad early in camp, trying to grind them in and trying to, create a new era and all that type of stuff, it affects the team down the long haul. Meaning,
well, we saw it in Pittsburgh with the way the coaching staff basically found a way to pull Cam back.
Yeah,
I would argue
look at him.
that Cam, right. I would argue. I don't know that Cam would agree with me because Cam is always dumping on himself. But
I know
that's all he does. But I don't. I saw the best version of Cam Hayward ever in 2019, and the fact that he was strong at his strongest at the end. You knew what I was going to say of the season. That's a testament to the coaching staff, to the depth, to bringing Tyson in, to bringing in different guys that were rotating in and out. I see that.
His practice reps.
Yep.
They cut his camp reps. He tried Cam. I'll say this about Cam. Cam, if you know him, like you said, he's always going to be hard on himself. And also, Cam's doing everything he can to make sure the team can win. And also, he's trying to make sure that he get his numbers to where he's in that HOF conversation, that Hall of Fame conversation. Is anybody's behind Cam? Probably is not going to play a whole lot. And because of that, they scale back on Cam in practice and in camp. And people always say, why does he have a vet day? That's because the main product that you want to see is on Sunday, Mondays, and Thursdays. That's what you want. And I know because I was going against Cam all the time. Cam was still strong towards the end of the season to where he was still able to lift, he was still able to go hard, and he was still taking about 60 reps a game, which is a lot for a D-line.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Now, back to the Bengals in a sense, new head coaches always set their precedents. They always come in with the hammer down, and guys always complain about practicing too much. The coach is hard on them. They're meeting all day. And when you got a team like Cincinnati that's going to have a young O-line, a young quarterback, some savvy receivers, but you got Joe Mixon's also, I think, coming up on the contract year and stuff like that. The best way for those guys to be able to grow is going to hurt those veteran Geno and Dunlap type guys because O-line's going to have to go against them a whole lot. They're going to force them to grow up in a lot of different ways that could potentially hurt them down the line. It's the same way that we had to go against the Brett Kiesels, the Kurskis, the Casey Hamptons, and we got beat up, and coach started to pull them out and put more young guys in because, hey, I need them because they're the guys that are leading the charge right now.
Yeah,
and
that's interesting.
And with Cincinnati, they're going to have to deal with trying to manage him and also change the culture there because one of the biggest things you can deal with, which is why you saw Harbaugh not get canned in Baltimore. The culture that they had, you remember there were talks about him
sure, just 2 years ago. Yep.
Before he got that extension. And the culture of a coach and team is huge. And honestly, I think them keeping Harbaugh was good. I honestly do think that. And look at the culture in which Vrabel has changed the Titans. That's always huge. So whenever this coach in Cincinnati goes there, he's going to have to teeter on, do I hurt him now and, pay for it later? Or do you find a happy balance? And him being a young coach now, that can be tough, especially with a young quarterback too.
A baby quarterback, yeah, that's it. And that's where Joe Burrow comes into the mix too, because you also have to be careful that you don't Cleveland him. And that's actually a verb at this point. When you're bringing in Joe Burrow, one of the things that I like that the Bengals did was that they started to do things to take care of their offensive line. And I'm sure Andy Dalton is really appreciative of the fact that they did this a year late. but they started to get back to, where they were when they had Andrew Whitworth and they had an offensive line
Yeah.
that was worth respecting. Having Joe Burrow protected and for him to be able to carry that confidence that we all saw in him at
Yes.
LSU is so important. It's something that, by the way, Cleveland didn't do with
Mm.
Baker Mayfield, where they
Until
said
now.
until now, but they said even at the time they went out and I refer to this in a lot of my columns as the Browns went shopping for toys. It was great. They got him OBJ, and they go, okay, well, maybe he has to be vertical to
Yeah.
take advantage of some of those weapons. I think in Cincinnati, he has the weapons. He has
Mhm.
AJ. He has, in my mind, I've known and loved Tyler Boyd for a long time, Pittsburgh
Yeah.
kid, Clareton kid. Uh, I think Tyler's ceiling is still higher than
Still tapping into it. Yeah.
he started to really take a step whenever AJ went down last year. He has Joe Mixon back there. If
Eifert,
he, yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm
if he's
sorry.
there, if
I'm
he's, I know.
sorry. I know professional athletes hate when you describe anybody as injury prone, but I'm sorry. Okay. I mean,
Yeah,
the guy's not ever on the field,
I
but
know. Yeah.
but if he's out there, yes, he's a weapon.
Yeah.
They have players, they have talent. I don't, you know, it's a matter of putting
It's,
it together, and then we get into, of all ironies, given the fact that all of your various bloodbaths against the Bengals in recent years came against their linebackers or
yeah.
linebacker and the various members of their secondary, especially Drake
Yeah.
Kirkpatrick, Pac-Man, and all those guys, whatever. And
Yeah.
that's where they're hurting now, Moan.
It is. Which is why that coach can't beat down that front line. He just simply can't. Them dudes going to get to the point. It'll probably be week 9, 10 before they're like, okay, we're going to hold as quick as we can, and that's that on that.
That's
You
it.
know? And
That's it.
but you also got to look at the other side, that young O-line, which I am still questioning why we let Fred Johnson go, okay?
I know you've been that way from day one on Fred Johnson. I hear you.
But
You're
at
not
the same,
alone. You're not alone.
but he's got to grow with no off season. You know, they've got the who is it, the center from Alabama, who's an early pick. I think they got a young tackle, and they might have another left tackle if Fred's not playing left tackle. But the thing is, they're all young. These guys might be 4 years and under, if that many. And you don't really grow up until year 4, 5, and 6, I think, for the most part. And you got to look at it. What is it? How many OCs has this been? And it's already a new coaching change.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to go into it for a guy who's supposed to save the franchise with not a lot of stability and experience up front. So if you ask me, will this be a down year? I think they'll surprise some people.
Yeah.
But considering the climate of, this pandemic, no off season, a young quarterback, a young O-line.
It's tough. That can't be
I know.
overstated. It just can't.
So for the people who are going to draft him in fantasy, he'll probably have some numbers, but it's probably because they're playing catch up at the end of the game.
Oh, well, those count too.
They do count. Yeah, but in the sense of wins and losses, and I'm not bashing them, I'm being a realist about it. That's why it's so important to get your guy as far as the quarterback position and let him sit and learn. Therefore, he might have a year transitioning, but he gets it earlier.
Yeah, he's not sitting, Ramon. You know that. He's not sitting.
He's not. And
No.
he seems like a cool kid. I think he has talent, but he also had a ton of talent.
Oh, support. You talking about support in college? His entire offense got drafted. I don't know if we've ever seen that before. I mean, it's literally, I want to say the number was either 9 or 10 out of their 11 starters were in the draft class.
And then the young receiver is still a top guy for next year.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. And we'll see if that ends up getting exposed in the NFL. Obviously, he did a lot of good things himself, talking about Joe Burrow, of course.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. If the AFC North has 2, arguably 3 strong teams, if you presume that Cleveland is now starting to do some of the right things and take care of the trenches, I don't think you're going to see a walkover in Cincinnati. I really
Yeah,
don't. And that's why the AFC North is going to be, if not the best division in football, it's going to be real close to it.
it is. And I'll be honest with you, the two moves that really got me like, okay, Cleveland is finally getting it
Yeah,
is
up
that
front.
is Conklin and the tight end from Atlanta.
Who they
Hooper.
paid a ton of money. Yeah.
Yes. And they paid Conklin a ton of money too. So, and I hate it because I got a buddy there and Chris Hubbard. I don't know what happened with that, considering they're saying the first round draft pick is slated to start also.
Yeah,
So,
well, we'll see. I mean, you can say that to try to push guys' buttons too, but I'm sure you've been there too. They bring in
I
somebody and, hey, we didn't bring in this kid for nothing. He's here to take your job. You're like,
I
okay.
know. So, but Cleveland, like you said, Cleveland, Baltimore, us for sure. Cincy will do their thing because they have to, and Burrow might do that. Run game with Mixon and Burrow he's a valid quarterback as far as a young guy. Could be very interesting.
Well, I'll leave you to your exercise in there. You look like you could turn around and like run into the trees and have like the credits roll with this dramatic closing to Java.
It's crazy. I go back there and automatically Brett Kiesel pops out. That's the scenery I have right now.
That's it. That's it.